Welcome to Dyson Sphere Program. My name is Nilaus and I will be your guide on this masterclass in how to design your perfect factory in Dyson Sphere Program. We are going to use quantum chips as our test case in this video. And that means by the end of it, you will have a really cool, crisp design for quantum chips. But not only that, you'll also have the knowledge of how I do the design, how I make these step by step, because it's a process, and I'll be giving you that process. So if you like it, hit the like button, consider subscribing so you can keep up with more masterclasses for Dyson Sphere Program. I have a million topics that I want to give out and make videos for, but it requires that there is, of course, an interest for it. So show your interest, and then I'll be giving you more content like this. So, of course, first things first, all of the blueprints I make, they are available. Description below, there's a link to my website where all my designs are available. So do check that out if you want to grab the blueprint we're designing today. We are going to be using we are going to be using assembly machines 3, but this particular design can also be made with assembly machines 2. I'm going to use Mark III belts and Mark III sorters because when you have those, there's no reason to ever use any of the other ones. We're going to use full proliferation with Mark III proliferation, and we are going to use it to get everything sorted with a planetary logistics station. If you want to use interplanetary, be my guest. I like using planetary logistics because I think that's how it's supposed to be. I know these are just strictly better. I don't care. I want to use my planetary logistics. So what we're going to do first, the very first step is what to include. So if we start by having a look at the quantum chips, because are we going to make everything here on site? Well, if we look at this, processor is something that I'm going to use for many things. Many of my products require quantum chips, so somewhere in my galaxy, I will have a processor built. And therefore, I'm saying process, that's something I can just request in, because I have it somewhere else. We're going to make a masterclass for it, so if you are in doubt how to make a cool processor build, I have one of those in my drawer, and I will make a separate video for that. Plane filters. Plane filters are painful and annoying, so that's definitely something we want. It's also not really used for many things. I think it's actually only used for... Can I even do this? No. It's only used for... yeah, those damn plane filters, plane smelters, and then aside from this. So I want to make this as part of the design. That means plane filters. So plane filters, taking a step down. Here we are going to look at titanium glass. Titanium glass is also woefully unuseful, and so is cashmere crystals. So I want to make both of those as part of my design as well, so that we can make sure that that is in here. And that means titanium glass, and this means the cashmere crystal as well. Now we have the question with regards to the cashmere crystals. Are we going to make the default cashmere crystals, which use one titanium crystal and then graphene and hydrogen? Or are we going to use 8 optical grading crystals plus graphene and hydrogen? I'm going to choose this titanium one. The reason is that I find that the value of optical grading crystal is really high, and using 8 of them for one cashmere crystals is a bad deal. Because you're sort of saying, I need 8 for one, or here I need 1 titanium crystal, and if you look at 1 titanium crystal as a result, 1 titanium crystal is using only 1 organic crystal, which is a rare product, and titanium is something we have in abundance. So for this reason, I will be making the default cashmere crystals. If you want to do it different, that's up to you. You are welcome to do that. Hydrogen, that's something we get from well, any gas giant, and graphene is something that, since that's used for belts and assemblers, then we definitely don't want to, or we definitely have to have something, a structured build of it. So I'm not going to build it as part of this build. I'm just going to request it in. Titanium crystals is only used for yellow signs, where it will be built, and it's only used for cashmere crystals. So I'll be making that as part of the build as well here, which means I need to get organic crystal and titanium in. So now I know exactly the 5 components that I want to include in my build. No more, no less. The next step. Step 2, how big do you want it? Well, in my case, it's very simple, but you might have different priorities. I want to make sure that it fits within. This is my build area that is 2 planetary sectors. Each planetary sector corresponds to this between 2 tropic lines, and also it is 5 of the big blocks. That's 1, and that's just a 2 little space, so we take 2 of these, and that means I want to make 3 of these in here. 1, 2, 3, because it fits kind of nicely. That means the build has to be 25 tiles wide at the absolute maximum. That's something you have to keep in mind if you design the way I do. But now we are working on sort of these design parameters, so that's where you can make your own damn thing. Make your own damn thing, your own damn designs. Now with that that done, now we sort of have to sort of consider from here and that space. That's the available space we have for this design. Step 3 is determining the ratios, because now we know that how much space we approximately have available, so we need to sort of gauge the right numbers. I'll be putting the numbers of assemblers, outputs, and required for each step in the left-hand side of the screen right now, so you can keep up with the math, because I don't want to go through it. You're welcome to double-check the math. I've had already 300 people do it, so I'm pretty confident at this point. But hey, there might still be mistakes. What I'm going to do is I am going to make 8 of these, and that will deliver 2.5 quantum chips per second. That's pretty good. That will require 4 plane filters per second to be produced, and I'm going to do that. It just so happens that that is an awful lot, and the right number for this is 13 of these and 13 of these. So that's 26 in total. That will produce a little bit more than 4. So that's all good. Then we go further one step back and say, if I want to produce 4 of these, of this, then I would need twice as many titanium glass. And of course, I always sort of divide by the proliferation, because every step will be proliferated to save materials and get free stuff. We like free stuff. Like the blueprints I've tried, free stuff. And that will then be, how many do we want? We need 10 of these. There we go. And that will get us a little more than the 6.4 that we need. And I'm always doing it in even numbers. And even though 9 would be fine, then I do it as 10, because then it's an even number. The next part is the Casimir crystals, which I need 8 of those. And then I need finally 6 here. And again, rounding up on these things so that we have even numbers. Now the next thing is sort of a validation and saying, do we think that we can fit all of this into basically this area here? I'd say yes, but it's gonna be tight. It's gonna be tight, so that's definitely gonna be the issue. Ratios and the numbers here available, then we need to start looking at how many inputs do we actually need, because that determines how many towers we want, and also the sort of the structure of the build. So we're gonna start by, I need to reserve some space for quantum chips to come out. Quantum chips need processors. The titanium don't need to come in from a tower, so because it's coming from here. And then this is all things that are included. Then we need to make the titanium part, the titanium glass. That means we need some water inbound. We need some glass inbound here, and we also need some titanium inbound. So that's what we need for titanium glass. Then we need for the Casimir crystals, we need some hydrogen, a lot of it, and we need some graphene. And then we need some titanium crystals. Titanium crystals require titanium, we already have that. And then some optical grading crystal. No, organic crystals. There we go. And that just happens to be 8. Now there is actually one more, and that's of course the proliferation. But I am always, from now on, for these designs in this season, I am doing all of my proliferation with with the small fidget spinners. And at this moment, this is where I'm going to show you the coolest little thing that we can build now. Look at that. It's like a baby, it's like a little baby planetary logistics. Right, we have up here, we have the drones coming in, we have a little storage, and then we have a drone output. It looks so cute. Especially when you place it next to it, then it looks like it's bringing in this little friend here. Look at that, little brother. Build your own planetary logistics, and that's how we're going to bring stuff in. So that means now we have we found out how many inputs into the towers. That means we need 2 towers, and then we need to allocate them to the towers, just so that we have a kind of idea of it. And this is where we actually start doing the design part. So we're going to start using a planetary logistics. I'm going to set it here because this is where I always want it. I always wanted 1 tile off here and 3 tiles off here. That means it can now be 25 wide in size here. We are going to say, what is this first stuff we want? First, we want to make the the titanium crystals. That means we need titanium and we need the organic crystals. Yes. And then we want to bring some more stuff in from here that we can then use to Casimir crystals. That means we also need the graphene and we need the hydrogen. So those are all the outputs we want in this part. And that will get us basically all of the Casimir crystals outbound, and then we have to remember the titanium as well. So let's start working on the next part. This is now sort of the grouping, and that goes together with the grouping of where we place assemblers goes together with belts, because we have to make sure that there's room for the belts. So I know that from experience that I can have 4 assemblers next to each other with belts in and out, and then we'll still have room for it. So that is exactly what we're going to do. We are going to start by having this one. Well, I don't know exactly where I want it. That's always like the challenging part. How close do we want to make this? Because we need to make sure that there's room for this. Oops, we'll get one of these. I think we'll build it here. That's about as close as we can make it. Good. All right, so I'm going to get titanium out at this point. And what was the other thing? This is going to be for the titanium crystals. I need 3 of these, and then I need 3 of these on this side. So the other thing that we get out is, of course, the organic crystals, and we just drag it over here. Build the proliferation as we think it's going to be. Then this will be outbound, and I must be able to proliferate it. So I'm actually going to be dragging it back here. And drag it even further back, and then going in here. Because I need to find a way to do proliferation for this build. So I'm actually just dragging back here and building more proliferation, leeching this, because if we have proliferation on one line, it just makes it so much easier. This is now going to be one of the inputs we want for the next part. Next part being the Casimir crystals, which we now need 4 of. Oops, there we go, 4 on either side. And what do they need inbound? They need titanium, which we have just looped back. I cannot make it as a direct insertion because then it's no longer going to be proliferated. So I have to drag it back and get it properly proliferated. What we also need at this point is we need to get the graphene coming in to the location. There. And we also need the hydrogen. Hydrogen is, for the Casimir crystals, high quantity, but since I drag it out on 2 belts, then I am sure that we don't have a problem with the quantity in total. I need a little bit more than 30 to do all of this, but since I bring it out on 2 belts, we don't have any issues. I'm going to drag here the graphene coming out, and then yeah. Now what you will also be noticing is I don't build power lines. I do not build sorters at this point because I take those things as low risk, and what I'm doing now is kind of high risk in the sense that there's a really big chance that, how can I not just pick it up? There we go. There's a big chance that I have to redo this because of sort of the alignment, and if I have to redo it, then I don't want to also sit and do all of the power poles and all that. So if I feel confident that if I can build it like this, then I can also do the power poles, then I'm perfectly happy with it. Good. So these are now inputs. That means all the inputs, if I remember to proliferate my hydrogen. And yes, you might say like, oh, but the hydrogen is free. Yeah, but I need all inputs to be proliferated in order to work. Now the only thing we're missing is actually the outbound. So what are we going to do for the Casimir crystal outbound? Oh, we need to trim these lines. And I always leave them sort of this length just because. This line here is also going to move forward because that's the titanium, and we're going to need titanium further down the line. So at this point, what we need is just need to consolidate it. And if we look at it here, I am going to consolidate the outputs as close as I can, like that. And that is there. This is the Casimir crystals. So now we have actually built all of this Now we can forget about most of it, and we just need the Casimir crystals. We can now also take you and start moving you up, because I'm gonna need you in here for new purposes. There, we're gonna need that. So the next part we want to do is 10 of the titanium glass, and we have one of the items for the titanium glass. That is the titanium ingots that is coming in, but the rest is well, not here. And then we do have the option, if we look at here, I do have the option, since there's 5 deep, that I can make it something along the lines of this. And I want to make it like this because I don't have a lot of room, so I need to use all the space I have available as efficiently as possible. This will be my titanium glass, like this, and like this. And let's see, 1, 2, yeah, I think that's probably fine. What are we going to do here? Well, we're going to need new inputs as well. So that means I am going to have to figure out, let's see. This doesn't look completely correct, does it? And I'm going to need another input. That seems too close, doesn't it? Maybe it does. But I think I need to make it here. So here are the other things we want to get in. That is where we need to get the water in. We need to get the glass inbound. And we need to get the processor inbound. And we need to get the quantum chips outbound. We do this for no reason, but we like to do that. There. Now this is going to be... We're also going to have to figure out where to do the proliferation. And since this has to be proliferated, then I'm also going to say, what if I get, this is my output there. So let's mark what we have on this belt there, and this is going to be the titanium glass, and then I need to get the titanium in here. And it's too steep, and you will be going hold shift, going in here. Ah, we can actually get it a little bit closer. And what you probably, if you are a experienced player, you might see some problem here. This is too close. And I'll show you the problem. Ah, come on. Wasn't there a problem? It's when you add... I'm going to just show this. Okay, it's not too close. Never mind. No worries. I was thinking it would be too close. And that means we have one line in here in the middle, and that will be an input line from here. So we can get inputs. Yes. And then we need the other input line. We'll get that. Running all the way around and back up here. So now we have the 3 inputs. We just need to figure out what's what. I'll be just taking this one as glass and this one as water. Just let the water run around here. Good. That is a bit of a mess. The good thing about this mess is that we now have some lines next to each other. That is making it infinitely more easy to do proliferation at this point. And all we need to do now is make sure that we can get stuff outbound. That is going to be water here, and this will be glass. Yeah. Of course, this takes a bit of iteration. I'm not gonna lie and just saying that I'm free-forming it here. But this is basically... It takes some iterations back and forth. So what we have now, we have... only thing outbound is the 2 things we need for the plane filters coming out here. And that means we can then now start making the plane filters. The plane filters is the biggest part. That's why we sort of squeeze things as much as possible here, so we can have room for the plane filters. We do know that plane filters are going to need a bit more space. How much space though? And yeah, that's... I can probably make it here. How close do I want to make it? Let me think about this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I just need an output here. That's 7, and then I need 2 inbounds here. And 1, 2. There. So this could very well be our build. And what I can then do is, if I can sort of get all of this merged into one place, that would be lovely. And okay, autosave is starting to take time. So I'm going to take this and run it all the way here and all the way back. That just makes sense to me. And you're running all the way up here and then running back. This is much better than doing any kind of splitting, so try to use this method whenever possible, because it saves a lot of space, and as long as it's low quantity items, there's absolutely no problem with just going back and forth. Now I want to then take all of my outputs, because outputs of the plane filter have to go into this little teeny tiny space we have left for the quantum chips, and consolidate with the processors that are coming out here. So processors need to be proliferated, and this needs to be proliferated. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge here. So we can get, like, this would be a good place to get it outbound, because I can then go get the processors outbound like this. And in order for me to get everything consolidated at that line, then I would need to get this one running backwards and in here. And the last one would go to here and then go a bit up and then go a bit down again. So that consolidates the output plus the output of the middle plus the output here. And these are, there's no doubt, this is 4 per second, so there's no problem with the speed of the belt here. And that's actually going to be good. We just need to find out where to do proliferation. The earliest I can do it is actually here, because that is immediately after the last ones have been output on the belt. And then we need to figure out a way to build the last parts. And the last part is the 8 quantum chips that we need. And since there are 8, then I think it makes sense to have it like aligned towards the other one. And I'll have 2 in the middle. That's going to be 2 in the middle. There. And that'll be quantum chips. That's still not quantum chips. There. And I'm going to drag you the outbound. This is the plane filters go around. And you go in. Here. And then we have the output. This is going to be the quantum chips running all the way back. So we have now a design that has placed all the belts fit, the assemblers fit, and we have used the space pretty damn efficiently. Not much extra room everywhere. We just have exactly enough room that I can sort of leave a little one here so we can see that there's a separation. We can leave a little bit of room here and a little bit of room here. The one thing we now need is the proliferation. And we have 3 places to proliferate. We have all of this line, and we have this up here, and we have something over here. So that's kind of a lot. And that means we need to find a good place to do the proliferation. And we are going to use the new feature that was just added. And let me see if I can. There, I'm going to put that right there. Now here's a thing we need to check. How wide is it? 1, 2, 3. And then it's 3 times 5, so that's 15. So no, this is the worst place to do it. Let's do it here. 1, 2, plus 3, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, plus 5, that's 11, 12. And then it's the same on the other side. So this is 24. That means it could be one further out here and it would still fit. That actually means that this one is okay, because this is kind of getting a bit out here. This is taking, you can see I can't build past it. So this means we need to get what? Yes. Right, here is a really cool little trick. I'm going to build a splitter. And it's going to be built right there. And I'll be making it the tall splitter. Then I'm going to be building my build on top. Yeah, it's a bit wobbly, but hey, if it can support it, it can support it. Then I'm gonna build that here. And I will be requesting, I'll be requesting this proliferation. I'll be make sure that I get that one inbound up and make sure we have no more than one power pole. Now, what we can do with this is I can actually take it out from the top floor and go straight through this one. For some reason, I can't click here, but I can click here past and then delete that. Then we can take it from the ground floor here, and we can then take it at the top floor. That's the top floor. And the top floor will just happen to be fitting perfectly going in here. And we take it from the top floor as well. Just go on top of this line, go to there, and go straight through. And dare I say, voila, it is now, everything is now proliferated. Oh, it even sending stuff inbound. How did it do that? No. Right, so this is, okay, we're going to just wait a few seconds for the morning. Now, why have I not built the power poles? Why have I not built anything else? Well, that's because, oh, they are coming in here. It's because that's something I feel confident that once I have it, it's going to work. No problem. But we still need to do it, and that's going to be my step 6. That's going to be adding the proliferation, the sorters, and the power poles. We have added the proliferation here. And then, because proliferation is something that you can usually squeeze it in. It might not be as crisp as this one, but you can always seem to squeeze in some proliferation. There we go, morning. Now let's build some power poles. That's going to be like one of the simpler things to add to this design. We do need to make sure that everything is powered, so obviously, and that's going to be part of the verification process later on. And then we have something out here, and I'll be putting that at this location. What about these? Well, we can build them several different places. What about if we place it here and here? Shouldn't that be fine? Yeah, it looks fine. It has good overlap. And then we just need some power poles in this location. Now it's going to be putting on the same line as that, and also on the same line here. This is mainly for symmetry, and then we can go over to the other part as well. And where do we want to make it? I think we want to make it here, 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 and then figure out where the next one is. That does cover these two proliferators, and then the only thing remaining is here and here. Right, so now we need to do sorters. That's also just a thing that we have to do, and I want to do as simple as possible and as repeated as possible. But we're going to do it because this is all about sort of the whole process. Now here we have to remember that this is outbound and then inbound. That is inbound, outbound, and inbound. And we copy it down, and we copy this one down. And here, this will be in, and in. And then we'll have stuff going on the outside. But here it's also important that this goes here. So you can't also take this out in the middle. You have to take it out with one to the side. And then we have repeatable patterns here. That one. And that one. All is good. Moving further back. Here we have to make sure we know which one is outbound. That is the inner one here is outbound. Okay, we'll start doing the middle one. And I'll do it like this. And over on the other side. How did I do it? There. That's the 5 here, and on this side, that's the 5 there. Let's do the Casimir crystals. They probably have to be done manually, and then we're almost done. So this is inbound, inbound, and on this side, it's also inbound and then outbound. Yep. That's the 4 here. We'll do the other 4 on the other side. That was inbound, 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 outbound. That's those 4. And you can trim these lines if you want. I like having the lines being exactly so that you don't sort of cut it out. It's just kind of how I prefer it. Here, in, out, and out. There. Now, that looks very much like we are complete. The last thing we want to do is make sure this part here, but we're not actually kind of done. I will leave this as big because that's going to be a lot of those inbound. We don't have very much high quantities for anything, so I'm going to leave it like this. I'm not going to start it up now because we still have one more step that is super important to do, and that's the verification. Step 7 is verification. What we've done is there are two challenges when building stuff. If you build it close to the line, the tropic line that is away from the equator, then these tiles are smaller. You can see out here, just on the other side, the tiles are bigger and some things will be squished. So we've now decided up here, that means if the squishing was an issue, then we would have seen it. But the other part is that because the tiles are smaller, then power poles can also reach more ground. So if we design it here, we have to copy it and also test it, building it close to equator. There. And then see if all of the power poles are still working. Also, I'd like to sort of see that it can also be placed in the middle, because that's kind of the verification that we can actually build 3 of these inside the build, inside design. And so we now build it, and the thing that we wanted to verify was that down here we don't have anything that is not powered, because that's the issue. If you design it here, then when you stamp it down up top, then you need to verify that it can actually be placed. It's also a good idea to take the blueprint and stamp it down, because there are still some issues with inserters, or with short belts between two splitters. They're still not really working quite well yet, so that's a little issue as well. This one, we'll just put that in here just to make sure that we got it. And at this point, we're just ready to hook it up. Now, this problem with copying between like the close to equator, far from equator, it's mainly with, like, it's an absolute disaster when it comes to miniature fusion power particle collider things, plants. Yes, and also kind of with chemical plants, because they're bigger, so they're more easily to sort of fall out of the realm. Now we're going to get to step 8. Step 8 is fire it up. And what we're going to do is everything is ready. And what I have done, and this is how I build my logistics networks, is that I have locations up here. These 4 towers are bringing stuff in and out of the planet. All the stuff we need is coming in here, so that we know we have it, and it's just more fun. We know we have it inbound when we hook things up. You know, I kind of want to start with this one, because that's the one we need the most of. And demand, demand, and demand over here. Demand, 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 and supply. And of course, let me just reiterate, if you want to use interstellar logistics and put some warpers in here, you are very welcome to do that, and that's why you can just grab my blueprints and then you can adapt them yourself as you see fit. I just prefer to do this way. And you can now see that we are getting things in. We're going to be tracing it from here, and hopefully it'll work. The titanium is coming in. That's because titanium is built on this planet. That's why it's coming from a bit further away. It's coming here. So now the titanium is coming in. Let's have a look. And there will usually be a few small kinks when building this, so that should be not a big deal. It's rare that when you design the whole thing and it just works in the first try. And there. And we are definitely making this. What we're looking for now is yellow markers. What does that mean? This little yellow marker you have here, that means that it is idle. And obviously it's idle on here. None of these are idle, that's good. So we are making all the titanium glass, we're making all of the Casimir crystals that are coming through here, and they're going into the next build. The reason why these are idle is because it sort of has to flow all the way around, and then has to fill up the internal buffers for each one before it goes all the way. But I have no doubt that it'll be getting all the way, fingers crossed, because at every step of the way during this, I have made sure that each step has slightly more than what is necessary for the next step of the process. That means eventually all belts will be saturated, and well, that's a good thing. The one thing that you should add here as well, while we are on this topic here, we should add a monitor, because you really want to know if you're running out. So here's the monitor setup that you'll be using for 99% of all your stuff. Set the cycle to 60 seconds, set the target flow to 0, set it to greater than 0. That's the pass condition. That means if it's greater than 0, then it's all okay. We are going to filter it based on quantum chips. And then do we want to throw an alert? Yes, we want to throw a global alert. When? it is failure. That means there's 0 transporting on the belt and there is no cargo. Because there are 2 failure conditions. There's either the belt is full and therefore not moving, or the belt is empty and therefore not moving. And we want to make sure that we only throw a warning if the belt is empty and not moving. Not just when it's not moving, because if it's full and not moving, that's a good state. That means that we've filled up our buffers. So this is, we're going to be throwing a warning like this. And that will be something we copy to the other ones. And copy to the other one here. And that will also be part of the blueprint. So that you will get a warning. Now you can see here there is a positive marker. We should be seeing 2.5 per second, and 2.5 per second is 150, but we are not quite there yet. Why are we not there? You can see this one isn't quite getting it, and that's because this is only now catching up, and as that's just catching up, it hasn't really reached the end here. So only now does this one slowly start working. And now it should be fine, and it'll be starting to output, and then we should start seeing that this will get closer to the 150 per minute that we have our target. You can also see that this is for the whole. It's only when we get this part over, this is when we have the maximum flow. So I am super happy about this. I hope that you are also happy about it, because what you can see now is we have all of these working, and this is 2.5 for each of these. Go, go, go. And all of this as well. Should do that one first. And this one here. There. So this is now, what we've done is now 7.5 quantum chips per second. Now, of course, you're going to be needing a lot of stuff to get in here to support this, but actually not that much. This is my build, so that means when you're looking at a planet, if you build it both north and south, then you, for one segment here, you can make 15 per second, and if you build it all the way around, then you can make 150 quantum chips per second on one planet. That is probably more than you can you need, and well, but it's with this blueprint, I am not going to need anything else. I'm just going to be honest with you. This blueprint is the solution to quantum chips for me forever, and I can't imagine that I would want to do it differently. We're now seeing warnings on these because they are not starting to work yet, but they will be working, and therefore we get the warnings up here. So, well, that is going to be the end of it. Remember that you can always get my blueprints. Just check the link in the description. These will be sorted under, if you look at this, intermediate products, PLS, and then here, quantum chips 2 per second. That's the one we've been designing today. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the like button. If you have good ideas or bad ideas for upcoming things that you'd like to see me do more masterclasses on, be sure to leave it in the comment section below. And of course, I'm also streaming on Twitch, so if you want to be joining on Twitch to be part of the design process and or looking over my shoulder with ideas and laughing at my mistakes, then you are welcome to join. Check my Discord or my Twitch schedule for when I'm streaming. It's about 2 to 3 times a week. And lastly, of course, if you like the channel and you want to support the work I do, I have a Patreon, and you're very welcome to support there. I really appreciate it, but there's of course no obligation. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care and stay effective.